All right, guys, so welcome to another installment. So we're going to be doing an exterior mirror glass replacement on a 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee. This isn't too bad. I mean, if you look at it, what happens is typically people will whack the mirror and the thing explodes. So you can see this has got kind of a couple different colors to it. And what this is actually the heater element inside of the glass that is starting to kind of drip out of it. So there's a bunch of electrics behind the glass that you have to be kind of mindful of and know what you're looking at. So this is kind of the back side of it. So there's a couple of connectors, that right there. Just make sure when you're looking at this glass to make sure that you see what was ordered and make sure it's right. So this one, it has a sensor here, and that's actually going to give you to this little arrow, and that's for if somebody's beside you, so it can kind of give you that lane marking. And then it has the heating element, and just make sure it's the right side. Typically your best bet is to kind of go through the manufacturer for that. And then on the inside, if you guys can kind of see this, we have some clips that go around. So there's a circular piece inside here, which is the motor that gives you your up and down and side to side movement. And there's just a couple little snap clips that go around. Putting this on is pretty simple. Pulling it off can be a little bit difficult, but what we'll do is you move it off to the side, and you can come in with a little door panel tool. And what we can do is we can gain access to the back side to remove the clips. So if we go inside the mirror, so you can get in there with the light, yeah. You can kind of see a little bit that there's some stuff inside, but once we get the clips off, it's not terrible to do. But there's a few clips inside there that you gotta kind of pry off, and once you do that, it gives you better access to be able to get everything off. But if you give it a little kind of pull, and then all I'm gonna do is just relieve the clips. The other thing you've got to be kind of mindful of is that when you're doing this, try not to grab the glass so much, or wear a pair of gloves so that you guys don't get yourselves cut. But once you get it off, there's just, as you can see inside of there, there's this round disc, and this is what it actually hooks onto. So there's a little lip around the outer edge that it grabs onto with these little tabs. So all you're trying to do is just kind of pull these tabs away. So I'm taking this inside there, and I'm grabbing onto the tab, and I'm just trying to pull to release. And then we're going to come through, and we're just going to disconnect all of the connectors that we can. So you can see there's one already kind of hanging off, but there's two up here, and that would be for the heater circuit. And then this down here is most likely for the lane approach and whatnot. And it comes down through there that you can kind of see. So we just want to make sure that you mark everything up to be the same. And I usually just match everything before I put it up. And this thing should be right because it's from the manufacturer. That's okay. So these little clips, typically they come off, and then there's like little push tabs. So the easiest way I found, if you can just take a blade, you can come underneath it, and you can kind of twist up, and it should release and get at least one side off. And the other is the same kind of way. You should be able to pull these off, and it will come off. Sometimes they're directional, so that you'll have one that will be bigger than the other. These look exactly the same, so it shouldn't matter for electricity flow. And let's do this. So putting it on, that's the only hard part, because you got to line up a couple of these pieces. So I try to make sure that when I do this, you're trying to put as much even pressure on the glass as possible. But I'm just going to make sure these are all connected in. And usually these connectors only go one way, so there's like a little notch inside this, and that notch goes up on the top. Just make sure everything's in connected. And then I'm just going to I'm going to push this as evenly on here as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand flat on here and push the glass. And I'm just going to rock my hand kind of around, and it should slide right on. And then it's in there. And then all we have to do is just we'll make sure that everything works. So you'll make sure that you'll turn the car on, to make sure that the mirror goes up and down, left and right. Turn the heated element on, and put your hand on the element, and like this should get hot. So like you can see, that just did a bulb test, so that worked. I'm gonna just make sure it works left to right. So he's got the heated portion on that. So these usually warm up pretty quick, but I'll just take my hand and I'll put it on there, and you can start to feel that it will get warm. That way you know that the circuit's good and easy to move on. But a simple repair, something that you guys can do, no problem. And it doesn't take much to do it. So you can see he's just making sure that thing articulates left and right. Just get in the habit of doing that. So I made sure, before I got into it, that we had up and down, left and right, and that all worked before we did anything. Because sometimes if somebody whacks this thing pretty good, they can ruin that whole piece. But once it's in place, just give it a little wipe down and you're good to go.